Hello there, this is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Ijeoma Innocent, and these are the top stories. Nigerian judiciary promotes law professor sacked for exam malpractice as new senior advocate. Labour Party claims Wole Soyinka is dual-faced and a victim of groupthink syndrome. PDP Board of Trustees vows to resist APC's desperation to foist a one-party rule on Nigerians. And Unilag slashes fees after Vice-Chancellor and Nance meeting. On the front, in Sudan, RSF leader threatens to form own government. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. The World News at 12 begins with the Legal Practitioners Privileges Committee, LPPC, confirming a new senior advocate who only a few years ago earned a pink slip and general infamy for smuggling unauthorized material into an examination facility. Benedicta Lopez Daudu was taking an exam as part of her master's degree program at the University of Jos when she was caught cheating by the school's administrators in 2016. She was promptly suspended for 2 semesters and shelved indefinitely as a staff member of the school's Department of International Law and Jurisprudence, according to the school's account of what transpired. She is now among about 70 new lawyers confirmed as senior advocates of Nigeria on Thursday by the LPPC, a body under the Supreme Court. Although she has since moved on from the University of Jos and is now a law professor at Taraba State University, her examination malpractice affair was sufficiently documented in public records. She was also excused from President Muhammadu Buhari's anti-corruption panel led by Issei Sagay amid the cheating humiliations. Now joining me to discuss this and other issues on the World News at 12 this afternoon, we have Mr. Cyril Abako, a political commentator and a social affairs analyst. Good afternoon, Mr. Cyril.
Very good afternoon to you.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about the judiciary, Mr. Cyril. The judiciary has been in the face of, can we call it, controversies for some time now due to the Election Petition Tribunal, on the presidential election. Right now, it is something different. Apparently, the judiciary has confirmed a new senior advocate. But the problem is, 7 years ago, this person was, as a law professor, caught with illegal materials in the examination hall, and this is public record, so the LPPC cannot say they don't know about it. One would think or expect that a body such as this, who confers such weighty titles on lawyers who already they work with the law, they know what the law says, one would expect that they already made their findings and know who is deserving of this title that they are conferring. What really is going on with the judiciary, Mr. Cyril? How do you weigh in on this matter? While most of the personalities on this list have no public controversy, but right now, with the way this particular lady has been elevated to the position of a son, it could further raise questions about the rigidity of the process that often leads to shortlisting legal practitioners for this kind of position. What is going on?
Let's even begin by saying that to become a son in Nigeria, as far as I know it, there are at least 2 routes to it. The first is that as a practitioner, there's a yardstick for it. Okay, I think basically the number of cases you would have taken up in litigation, the courts you'd have gone to, and how you've performed. That's one. The second one is academically. I recall that in the 80s there was an argument about awarding SAN on Professor Ben Wambweze, because he was a law professor, he was an academic. So there was a debate as to, but they said his contributions to law were too enormous to be overlooked for SAN. So there was a debate: should he, who was purely an academic, now also become a SAN?
And that is the same thing in this situation.
This is the same category this one is about to become a SAN for. I mean, somebody who was caught, according to the school's own account of what happened, somebody who was caught with what I may call contraband, what they called in jail back in the days, the sort of things you didn't want to be associated with personally. She came into an examination hall with such material.
No, you can imagine your lecturer cheating.
Then the school shelved her for 2 sessions, two semesters, and then shelved her from academic activities. How come she is now a law professor of law, and then is being elevated to the level of SAN? But Choma, make no mistake about it. Are you surprised? Should we be shocked? If I did that, I'll be pretending. Not because it's a case per se, but this is Nigeria. The former president's head of Anti-Corruption Prosecution Advisory Council, or whatever it was called, had to leave that position because he was accused of forging his own WAEC result. Okay, so why should we be particularly surprised and shocked that it's much as we condemn it, much as we say it is wrong, but again in the end you will be told now that nobody wrote that there's no petition against her, that the school eventually found out that they could pass whatever.
Does the school have to do that? Does there have to be a petition against her? Does somebody have to say probe this person before you do that, knowing that there is just something shady in the past? What message is this sending to Nigerians?
I'm glad you've come this path, because I was waiting for it. To be very honest with you, Chama, if anybody in this country is waiting for the law to set us free, the law to deliver justice, the law to take us to the promised land, that person is wasting his time. He's sleeping. Because we now understand, we now are a society where if nobody said anything, if nobody saw anything, if nobody wrote a petition, all our consciences go to die. Whatever happened to the basic moral obligation of saying that there is a responsibility on the part of government, on the part of regulators, on the part of the authorities to say, if we know, or even as much as perceive, let's keep our distance. Whatever happened to that? You have a country where the courts will even give reason. It is the courts that are giving reason why somebody committed the crime he committed, when in reality we were told from childhood that they said ignorance before the law is no excuse. But today it is the courts that tell us he didn't do it intentionally, he didn't do it knowingly, it was not his fault. As if your work is to tell whether to tell right from wrong, other than to say the law says this and we must do. The fact is this again: no law is written to be interpreted in absentia. All right, every law is written to be interpreted in context. That's what the lawyers will say. You cannot interpret the law ex cathedra. That is, you cannot interpret the law outside of a court of law. In the case of this woman now, is it that where there's no law, we will not know what to do between right and wrong? That this body that is supposed to be a hallowed, elevated, they call them silk. And I can bet you, if a man like Fawemi was among this woman, he would have said he was rejecting it. Because I recall before he died, he said he was leaving the NBA. It is because of things like this. What explanation do you want to give to the people coming behind? What authority now will the lecturer have to say, you that cheated, leave the class? Okay? On what authority are you going to do that? So we must be seen, we must both do what is right and be seen to do what is right. There are two different things. Where justice is served, justice must also be seen to be served. It just leaves more to be desired. The more you complain, today is one thing in the morning, you complain and you shout. In the evening, a more bizarre, more unthinkable, more unspeakable, more mind-blowing thing happens. That somebody who was writing law exams, how did you write master's degree in 2016 and become professor by now already? I thought that and again, this is, I thought the committee that selects people is supposed to be called the Ethics and Privilege Committee. Did the ethical committee not do its homework, not do its findings? Or are we seeing the hand of Jacob and the voice of Esau? Are we the hand of Esau and the voice of Jacob? What is really? I think that these people owe Nigerians an explanation. Because like it or not, it's not personal. It's not closed. Whatever you do as a lawyer, as a professional practitioner, Nigerians are seeing it. And my concern is for the generation that is coming behind us, they are seeing this is happening. How do you explain to them that you can cheat and still become, and there'll be no consequences? Is that correct? Is that right?
Well, we'll leave that as a rhetorical question. Let's move on. Meanwhile, the Labour Party has disagreed with Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka on his position on the outcome of the 2023 presidential election as regard its candidate, Peter Obi. The party, in a statement on Thursday by its National Publicity Secretary, Obiora Ifo, condemned the statement by Soyinka and added that the literary giant is speaking based on information given to him by those who share the Emilokan sentiment. You will recall that Soyinka had on Wednesday at an event in South Africa claimed that Obi did not win the February 25 election in Nigeria. He further stated that the leadership of the Labour Party knows so and is trying to force their lies on others. In a response, the LP spokesperson said Soyinka as a human being has been overtaken by emotions based on what some people told him. The statement also added that Soyinka was in Lagos, Nigeria during the election and witnessed the violence that marred the polls in certain locations in the country, but failed to condemn such actions. Let's talk about this, Mr. Abako. The Labour Party right now is saying that they don't want to join issues with Soyinka too much because of his respected status in the country. All right. Now we know that in academics, in literature, he holds position. He's someone that many people look up to. Now, when people like this come out and air their opinions as regards politics and air their political opinions, there will always be dissent. There will be people who think that they are right and the ones who think that they are wrong. Over time, Professor Wole Soyinka has used different words on Labour Party and their supporters, who they call the obedient. He called them fascists. Right now, he's calling them liars and people who are just trying to whip up sentiments, people who are just trying to cause trouble in the country. At this point, we know that he's definitely not a supporter, but where does he stand?
So first of all, let me defend Professor Soyinka's right to say what it is he has said. Whether we agree with him or not is an entirely different kettle of fish. But I would have thought that given his person, given his standing, given his track record of fighting injustice and fighting military rule, I mean, for as old as Nigeria has been independent, I would have thought that Professor Soyinka would have by now maybe considered it better to stay higher than the fray, not to descend into the ring with people that I mean may not even be able to unbundle his intellectual stature for another century. But he has said what he has said, and of course there are going to be responses. Now, what he has said is that the obedience are liars, that they are that Peter is trying to sell a lie. According to him, they didn't win the election, but they're trying to. I want to believe that Professor Soyinka, as a Nigerian citizen and indeed as a voice around the world for African literature and for Black values, should feel interested in Nigerian politics and whatever happens in our country. But for him to be coming this land, then the kind of words he's using, I would have thought that on better advice or perhaps on better reflection, he would have simply wanted to just, stay above the fray and not want to be involved in all of this, because in the end, it's his image, it's his person, it's his name, and as one who, he has basically seen it all. When you want to talk about Professor Soyinka over the years has engaged several military presidents. He's for his own generation. Chinua Achebe, J.P. Clark, Christopher Kigbo, Dabuze, not Dabuzo, and so Gabriel Okara and so many of them. Most of them have actually passed on. He alone, I think, today remains as the last man standing in that ring, and so he occupies an exalted position in that echelon. I would have thought and wished that he would rather just let things slide. The reality is that whether P2B won the election or not, what we all share in common is Nigeria. And is Nigeria getting any better, or is the current administration going to deliver the goods that we've all prayed for and know for many for so many years now? If that will happen, then fine. But if it's not happening, the question is, how did the 2023 elections go? Professor Soyinka said he was not in the country when the elections took place, and that it was when he came back and saw what netizens were saying on Twitter and all these places, that he began to feel, why should they be talking this and that, and he called them fascists. But the point is, if he wasn't in Nigeria when the elections, then it means that the information he has is second hand, and so it may not be the same kind of opinion he would have had perhaps if he had been around to see things for himself. And so I would think that since he wasn't here to see what happened, the intimidation, the hate speech, the bullying, the violence, the killings, and everything that happened, and then the willful shutting down of the server on election day for the presidential election, because the federal government said that INEC deliberately shut the server down. Like when I said that, INEC didn't know that that even they could willfully shut it down, because now the courts have said that INEC can willfully shut it down. So the fact is, a lot of things went wrong on election day, build up to the election, and even after the election, for him to take a swipe on just one side of the divide. I wish it had been different, but it's his opinion, and I think he has the right to say what he has said. It's fine, and others also have the right to respond and to also say whatever it is that they have to say. So maybe I'll just leave it there.
All right. Finally, I'd like you to speak quickly on this last story. The PDP Board of Trustees has vowed to resist alleged attempts by the ruling APC to foist a one-party rule on Nigerians. This is the PDP coming out to say the PDP has been the main opposition for so many years until the Labour Party, the resurgence of the Labour Party, and the Labour Party came up, and right now it seems that the PDP has been deposed as the main opposition party. But nevertheless, the fact remains that the PDP, the Labour Party, there are still oppositions in Nigeria. It's with what the PDP is saying. Do you see it that way, that the APC is trying to foist a one-party rule on Nigerians, knowing that they have the majority of candidates in the House of Reps, in the Senate, in the National Assembly. They do have the majority of candidates who won governorship elections and so many of that. But these opposition parties are still standing. The PDP celebrated about 25 years.
Chama, let me even help you. The PDP is so strong, they even have a minister in the president's cabinet.
That's in some weekend.
They are that powerful.
No, he's just one man.
I mean, you have many members, House of
and
Reps.
He's been working against the party.
Please.
Can't we say that's what made him appeal to the APC?
No. You can't conclude that he's working against the party. He has made some choices, but I can't say he's working. If he was working against the party should choose, tell him that he's working against them. They've not said that, so I cannot say that. In politics, there are a lot of underground things that are normal happen. So if even the party won't suspend him, won't expel him, won't call him to order. You heard when he himself said, the headline I saw said that he consulted party people before going to accept the offer to be a minister. I don't know if
a few party people have come out to say that they did not endorse that.
But so the party chairman, the party BOT chairman, the Atiku Abubakar should be the ones talking, not a few party members. You know what I'm talking about? So this is the point. It's a critical matter. Now, but let me help. The PDP appears to have lost sight of their vision and their goals if really they want to be an opposition party. And you wonder why. You wonder why. The reality is that in Nigeria, the so-called one, you see, they don't understand what's going on, obviously. Choma, this purported one-party state will not be a one-party state. It will be a one-interest state, not one-party state. And there's a difference. Please mark what I tell you today. It will be a one-interest state, not one-party state.
So even the opposition has the same interest as the ruling party?
The president has a member of Accord on his cabinet.
Won't you say that that's a strategic decision, positioning to make it an inclusive government?
Yeah, so you may even see now people from Labour Party will become member of cabinet. It will be one interest. In politics, there's no common enemy or whatever, but common interest. So there's one man who has been able to define his interest in a very strategic way that he can draw friends from their interest. Look at what happened on the floor of the House of Reps. One man's interest produced the Senate president. When some people wanted to fight and say, no, we have a party, we should be the minority leader and so on, that man's interest prevailed. So much so that his interest also appointed the minority leaders in the National Assembly for the other party. Choma, they didn't have to decamp to the APC, but as one interest, his interest prevailed. So in Ondo State, there was the president appointed some people to be part of NDDC board. One of them was a PDP member. People protested and said, no, you can't do this to the president. He is PDP. So I think people have not understood what we're talking about. You don't have to decamp. Whether you are PDP, SDP, Accord, Labour Party, we are heading into a one interest state. The PDP is standing very much out of touch with reality, and I don't understand why. And they are hoping that the Supreme Court will turn the judgment of the Court of Appeal. I mean, I can say amen to their prayer, whether I believe in it or not. But I would like to see the miracle that happens. You know, I mean, it will be good to see the miracle that happens. We've read about a lot of miracles before, so it will be good to see how that miracle happens. But the fact is, wake up to the reality. It is not a matter of one party state. No, people will not.
At the end of the day, this interest you talk about, is it interest for the people's well-being or personal interests?
Please. Well, maybe when that interest begins to unfold in another 6 months, 1 year, we can see
it.
But as far as I see it, and let me wrap with this, that one interest state is progressively developing. Is progressively advancing. As a matter of fact, there are no political parties in this country. Why don't people see this thing? There are no parties. I rest my case.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Cyril Abaku, for joining me on the World News at 6 this afternoon.
My pleasure,
I immensely appreciate your input. Well, the Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has vowed to resist alleged attempts by the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, to foist what it called a one-party rule on Nigerians. Acting Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Senator Adolphus Wabara, said this while reading a communique after the 75th meeting of the board in Abuja on Thursday. He explained that the board thoroughly reviewed the state of affairs of the nation and the party and resolved that the Board of Trustees will take urgent steps to resist the current manifest aspiration by the APC to turn Nigeria into a one-party state. He equally said the Board of Trustees restated its rejection of the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Court in upholding the declaration of the APC as winner of the February 25, 2023 presidential election, in spite of the evidence clearly pointing to the contrary. He noted that the board is also monitoring and studying the outcome of cases in various election courts with regards to the level of adherence and respect to the rule of law and evidence before such courts. The board chairman Wabara expressed the board's confidence in the capacity and courage of the Supreme Court to ultimately and decisively right the wrongs and correct the manifest errors contained in the judgment of the PEPC in the interest of the unity, stability, and corporate existence of the country. He equally expressed the board's serious concerns about what he described as the excruciating hardship, worsening insecurity, and the general sense of apprehension and despondency across the country, which he said was occasioned by the hasty implementation of ill-planned policies of the overtly insensitive APC administration. In another development, the Lagos State Ministry of Transportation has announced that Third Mainland Bridge will be shut to motorists to allow the commencement of remedial repair on bad portions of the bridge. The repair to be carried out through the Lagos Public Works Corporation (LPWC) in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Works will see the bridge closed for 2 consecutive Sundays, September 17 and 24, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. each Sunday. Confirming the planned rehabilitation, the Permanent Secretary of the Lagos State Ministry of Transportation, Abdul Hafiz Toriola, on Thursday said traffic would be diverted during the repair to ensure early completion. He therefore urged motorists to be patient and observe safety measures during the palliative works on the asphalt pavement of the bridge. He added that Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, LASTMA officers, the Federal Road Safety Corps (FRSC), the Nigerian Police, and other traffic personnel will be on ground to effectively control and manage traffic. In a cherry development, the management of the University of Lagos has announced the reduction of its fees after meeting the representatives of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS on Thursday. A statement made available to newsmen today revealed that the university held a meeting with the executives of NANS and other faculty members yesterday. The statement revealed that at the commencement of the meeting, the NANS president highlighted the demands put forth by the students, which include a reversal of obligatory fees, a reversal of hostel fees, and reinstatement of students' union government in UNILAG. However, Ogunshola stressed that the aim of the university was to deliver quality education to its students, regardless of class, tribe, or creed. You will recall that some students of UNILAG had on Wednesday taken to the streets to express their dissatisfaction with the raised tuition fees announced by the school's management. In July this year, the UNILAG authorities had announced a raise in tuition fees for both new and returning undergraduate students, citing the current economic conditions as the reason behind the decision. You are currently listening to the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. After the break, we'll bring you stories on the foreign scene. Just stay with us. Welcome back. You're still listening to the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Now, on the foreign scene, the commander of Sudan's paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, has threatened to form his own government with Khartoum as its capital if the army sets up an administration in the eastern city of Port Sudan. In a post on X, formerly called Twitter, Lieutenant General Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, also known as Hemeti, said the RSF has shown great patience regarding al-Burhan's individual decisions despite his illegitimacy, referring to Army Chief Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. The RSF leader added that the force will not allow anyone to speak on behalf of Sudan and claim legitimacy. The RSF leader's threat followed state media reports that the military-led government plans to build a presidential palace and the headquarters of its foreign ministry in Port Sudan in the Red Sea state. The city has been serving as the government's operating base since a deadly conflict broke out between the regular army and the RSF in Khartoum in mid-April. In a recording shared on Twitter, Hemeti stated that he will not tolerate the creation of an alternative seat of power. He emphasized that the foremost priority should be the cessation of hostilities and the reunification of Sudan rather than the establishment of a war-centric government in Port Sudan. The RSF commander asserted that the conflict that erupted on April 15 was initiated by members of former President al-Bashir's party to obstruct the path to political and democratic transition. Sudan's Army Commander-in-Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan has been on a series of foreign tours since August, visiting countries such as Egypt, South Sudan, Qatar, Eritrea, and Turkey. Hemeti has strongly warned against the potential consequences of attempting to establish a government in a portion of Sudan and al-Burhan's continued pursuit of legitimacy. He cautioned that these actions could lead to Sudan's division. And that's it on the World News at 12. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard that the Nigerian judiciary has promoted a law professor sacked for exam malpractice as a new senior advocate. You heard that the Labour Party has claimed that Wole Soyinka was influenced by Emilokan's sentiments to say Obi lost the presidential elections. The PDP Board of Trustees has vowed to resist what it called the APC's desperation to foist a one-party rule on Nigerians. You also heard that UNILAG has slashed its fees after Vice Chancellor and NANS meeting. On the foreign scene, Sudan RSF leader has threatened to form his own government. And that is a wrap on the World News at 12. My name is Ijeoma Egwuatu. Please follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. For coverage of your live event and brand news mentioned on our news bulletins, do send a mail to news@voiceofthepeople.ng. Good afternoon and thank you for listening. Please stay tuned for Matters with Ikami Jude.